In this part of 2.1, we're going to be talking about operations with numbers, specifically number sets. Our number sets consist of the following. We have our natural numbers right here. Those are basically our counting numbers starting with 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Our whole numbers are the natural numbers, but they also include 0. So you start 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Integers are basically like your whole numbers, but now you add the negative numbers in there. So we have negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you have basically all the numbers that you normally see on a lot of number lines. Rational numbers are all numbers of the form a over b, where a and b are integers, but b cannot be 0. Remember, we can't divide by 0. That's why b can't be 0. Basically what these are fractions. So you can have 1 over 2, 2 over 1, 1 over 3, 7 over 5. All those are rational numbers. Okay, they can be represented by two integers put into a fraction. Irrational numbers cannot be expressed as a ratio of integers like rational numbers can. As decimals, they are never repeating and they never terminate. So think of things like pi or square root of 2. Those are examples of irrational numbers. Real numbers are all the rational and irrational numbers. And we'll talk about non-real numbers or imaginary numbers at another time. But real numbers are basically all of these guys right here. For those of you that are visual learners, this should hopefully help. First, we start out with our natural numbers. That's our smallest number set. Remember, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Whole numbers include the natural numbers, right? They include the natural numbers, but we added 0 to it. So the wholes are basically natural with 0. Integers include all of our whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, but we also include the negative numbers. So now we're getting to a bigger number set. There's more numbers in that. And then we have our rational numbers, which include all of our natural, whole, and integer. Just think about it. If you have 2 over 1, that's a fraction right there, which we said were our rational numbers, but it's also equal to 2, which is an integer, a whole number, and a natural number. We have our irrational numbers over here on the side because they don't fall into any of the rational, integer, whole, or natural, any of those, but they're all part of the real numbers. This right here doesn't just mean hashtag it, it means numbers, so real numbers. So here we have a couple examples. We're going to put these numbers into their number sets. Now they could be in just one number set, they could be in multiple number sets. So I have the square root of 34. Now if we were to plug that into our calculator, we'd get something along the lines of 5.83095 and so on. It never repeats, it never terminates. So we know that that must be irrational. Alright, so we have irrational on that one. We also will have our real numbers because remember, irrational falls into the real category. Now for 0, well, let's see here. Natural numbers start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So it doesn't fall into natural numbers. But if we look back at our list there, we know that's going to fall into our whole numbers, our integers, our rational numbers, and real numbers. So all 4 of those. Now, if you feel comfortable with doing these, why don't you pause the video, try a few of them, and you can press play while I'll explain each one to you. So for number 3 here, we have 0.121212. Well, it's repeating, so we know that that is not going to be irrational. That's one that we can actually express as a fraction. So this is going to fall into our rational and real numbers. Number 4 here, we have negative 2.1379641, and it never repeats, and the dot 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 means that it never terminates. So I know that one falls into my irrational and real. Now when we see square roots, a lot of times we're thinking, oh, it's got to be irrational. But with number 5, what's our square root of 16? Well, that's 4. What's our square root of 9? Well, that's 3. 4 over 3. That's a fraction. And remember we said that rational numbers can be expressed as fractions, so we know this is rational, and we know that it's also real. Number 6, we have 4 2/3. Once again, we have a fraction. When it's a fraction, we're thinking rational and real. Alright, R and Rational and real. Number 7 here, negative 18. Well, it can't be natural or whole because it's a negative number, but it does fall into our integer category. Now, integer is also part of the rational numbers and real numbers, so we have to include those as well, rational and our real numbers. Excellent. All right, number 8, we have negative and the square root of 400. Well, I know my square root of 400 is 20, so it's just negative 20. Well, that falls in the same stuff as number 7 there is negative 18, integer, rational, and real.